Every year, the IRS sends millions of notices to taxpayers. Some of those notices simply provide information. Others ask you to take action. And some become increasingly serious if ignored. The problem is, most taxpayers have no idea which notice requires immediate attention and which ones don't. As a result, some people panic over notices that are relatively routine, while others ignore notices that can eventually lead to IRS collection action. Neither response is helpful. That's exactly why I created this IRS notice series. My goal isn't to scare you, it's to help you understand what each IRS notice means, where it fits into the collection process, and what options may be available to you before making any decisions. My name is Shane Harris. I am an enrolled agent with Profit First Taxes, and every week I help taxpayers understand IRS notices, resolve tax problems, and make informed decisions with confidence. Before we begin the series, I want to introduce you to two tools you'll see throughout every episode. The first is Profit First Taxes IRS Stress Scale. The second is the IRS Collection Timeline. Once you understand these two tools, the rest of the series will make much more sense. One of the biggest mistakes I see taxpayers make is treating every IRS notice the same. Not every IRS letter carries the same level of urgency. Some simply provide information. Others require action, and some indicate that the IRS has entered the collection enforcement phase. That's why I created the Profit First Taxes IRS Stress Scale. It's a simple way to help you understand how serious a notice is and how quickly you should respond. Let's walk through each level. First, green. Green represents informational notices. These notices generally provide information about your account. Examples might include a change of address confirmation, an identity verification request, a notice confirming the IRS received something you submitted, or another update that isn't part of the collection process. Green doesn't necessarily mean you can ignore the notice. You should always read every IRS letter carefully, but informational notices generally aren't collection notices. Next is yellow. Yellow means action needed. These notices tell you the IRS needs something from you. Maybe you owe a balance. Maybe additional information is needed. Or maybe the IRS is asking you to respond by a certain date. In this series, you'll see notices like CP 14 and CP 501 in the yellow category. These notices shouldn't be ignored, but they also aren't a reason to panic. Think of yellow as the IRS saying, let's resolve this before it becomes a bigger problem. Then we move into orange. Orange represents escalating collection risk. By this point, the IRS has already contacted you more than once. The balance still hasn't been resolved, and the language in the notice becomes more urgent. In our series, the CP 503 falls into this category. Orange is your signal that waiting longer could reduce the number of options available to you. Finally, red. Red represents collection enforcement. This is where many taxpayers become nervous. But I want to be very clear. Red does not automatically mean the IRS has already garnished your wages or emptied your bank account. It means the IRS has entered the enforcement phase of the collection process. In this series, you'll see notices like the CP 504, the letter 1058, also known as LT 11, and later videos discussing federal tax liens, wage garnishments, bank levies, revenue officers, and other collection actions. Red means take the notice seriously, understanding your rights, understanding your options, and don't ignore. Now, let's look at the second tool you'll see throughout this series, The IRS collection timeline. One of the biggest misconceptions I hear is the IRS is going to garnish my wages tomorrow. In reality, the IRS collection process usually follows a progression. It generally doesn't jump straight to wage garnishment or bank levies. Instead, the IRS sends a series of notices over time, each one becoming a little more serious than the last. As we move through the series, you'll see exactly where each notice fits on the timeline. You'll understand what changed from the previous notice, what the IRS is trying to accomplish, and what your options may be at each stage. Understanding where you are in the process can help reduce uncertainty with knowledge. One thing I hope you remember throughout this series: receiving an IRS notice doesn't automatically mean you're in trouble. It doesn't automatically mean the IRS is about to garnish your wages. And it certainly doesn't mean you should panic. Every IRS notice has a purpose. Every notice tells you something. My goal is to help you understand exactly what the IRS is communicating so you can make informed decisions instead of emotional ones. Knowledge gives you options, fear rarely does. If you've received an IRS notice or simply want to better understand how the IRS collection process works, you're in the right place. I encourage you to watch this series from the beginning to end. Each episode builds on the previous one and explains the next steps in the collection process. If you find these videos helpful, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Every week, I share practical information to help taxpayers understand IRS notices, tax debts, collection, payment options, and other tax topics. Now that you understand the IRS stress scale and the IRS collection timeline, let's begin with the first collection notice. Most taxpayers receive after unpaid balances is assessed. The IRS CP 14 notice explains. I'll see you in the next video.